Coming up on Tech News Today, is Google unstoppable? AT&T daypass wants to compete with hotel Wi-Fi. Is it better? And Xbox losing the console war? All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, October 18th, 2013. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, or online store. For a free trial and 10% off, go to squarespace.com and use offer code TNT10. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Maya Zakhar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show that takes the tech news of the world, boils it down to the essentials that you need to know, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the News Fuse. Thursday at the Hack in the Box conference in Kuala Lumpur, researchers from Quark's lab demonstrated how an employee inside Apple could intercept messages on iMessage. Apple controls the public keys, meaning you have to trust that they're giving you the right one and not using their own to spy on your messages. Because the key server is not public, there would be no way to tell if a key was swapped. Apple spokeswoman Trudy Muller said in a statement to All Things D, the research discussed theoretical vulnerabilities that would require Apple to re-engineer the iMessage system to exploit it, and Apple has no plans or intentions to do so. So in other words, trust them.
Google's in the 1K club. The company's quarterly results beat Wall Street's expectations, and shares of the internet search engine jumped 8% in overnight trading to just under $1,000 in after-hours trading. That was Thursday night, after it reported a 23% rise in revenue from its internet business, excluding fees paid to partners of $10.8 billion in the third quarter. In other news, co-founder and CEO Larry Page told analysts he's not going to be on Google's quarterly earnings calls on a regular basis anymore so that he can, quote, ruthlessly prioritize my time for the benefit of the business.
You know evil, but be ruthless. The worst kept secret on the internet continues to be the worst kept secret on the internet. The unannounced Nexus 5 made an appearance on the Google Play Store at a price of $349 for a 16-gigabyte model. Clicking through to purchase the Nexus 5 led to nowhere, though. The Nexus 5 was then promptly removed from the Play Store and replaced by the Nexus 4.
AT&T Senior Vice President Chris Penrose, speaking at GigaOm's Mobilize conference in San Francisco, announced the mobile carrier would start selling a day pass for $5 for 1 day and a maximum of 250 megabytes of data. $25 would get you 3 months of usage with a max of 1 gigabyte. AT&T also announced partnerships with several automakers, including Tesla.
Thanks in part to the wildly successful Grand Theft Auto 5 bundle, NPD reports that the PlayStation 3 was the best-selling games console in the U.S. in September, which is a big deal because it breaks the 32-month streak that the Xbox 360 has enjoyed. Competitors are also rejoicing. Nintendo reported that the Wii U sales more than tripled month-on-month in September following a price cut and a limited edition bundle with The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker HD, and Microsoft says the Xbox 360 has sold 80 million systems worldwide.
During Google's earnings call yesterday, Larry Page told the world that around 40% of YouTube's traffic comes from mobile devices. Last year was 25%, and way back in the old days in 2011, 6%. For its figures, Google counts tablets and phones as mobile devices.
Apple's patent on multi-touch that was used against Samsung and Motorola to win court victories was temporarily invalidated last December. However, Apple's back on top again. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has decided to uphold patent number 7479949. 949 is what you're probably used to hearing. The patent is one of those at issue in the ITC's recent ruling to ban import of some Samsung products.
AMD's financial results beat Wall Street's expectation, kind of a theme we've got going here. For the third quarter, ending celebrating September 30th, and it's thanking its next-gen game console friends for helping it achieve that. The company said today that its earnings were 4 cents a share, revenues were $1.46 billion. And one of the things that helped this quarter was AMD shipping large volumes of chips for video game consoles that are debuting this fall, like the Sony PlayStation 4 and the Microsoft Xbox One. You may have heard of both.
Doesn't ring a bell. Wall Street Journal reports Lenovo signed a non-disclosure agreement with BlackBerry in order to review BlackBerry's financial statements. That would be a sign that Lenovo is at least considering buying some or all of BlackBerry. Now, being headquartered in Beijing, Lenovo would likely have difficulty getting approval to buy the security technology from BlackBerry, but it might make sense to just buy the device manufacturing part. Other companies like Google, SAP, Cisco, Intel, and others have been rumored to be interested in buying other parts of BlackBerry. So maybe they can all team up.
Apple has a grave warning for you MacBook Air owners. Some SSDs in MacBook Airs are failing. Apple says the issue could affect MacBook Air units sold between June 2012 and June 2013. To find out if your laptop is affected, check the Mac App Store for an update called MacBook Air Flash Storage Firmware Update 1.1. Catchy name. Which will let you, it'll check your drive for you. Apple's offering up free replacements for those drives.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, or online store. I'm selling my books at TomMerrittBooks.com. In fact, Squarespace is so easy, I could continue to prepare for the show this morning live while creating a new page for the new Kindle Signal that Scott Johnson and I created and threw it right up there on TomMerrittBooks.com, and it looks great. It looks like I spent all morning on it, but I didn't. That's what Squarespace can do for your site. They're constantly improving their platform with beautiful designs. They have more than 20 beautiful templates for you to start with, all the style options you need to create a unique website for you or your business. It's easy to use, and they're commerce ready. You could be selling your stuff too. They have a powerful and flexible e-commerce solution that's integrated to work with every one of their templates. So you don't have to go, oh, do I have to not use one of the great templates I like? No, you can use them all. And you can sell physical or digital goods. I mean, I'm selling digital goods right now, but you could sell books and ebooks, MP3s and CDs. You can track your orders. You can manage your orders. You can customize customer email updates. You can print shipping labels and add coupons, all from one single interface for order management. Global reach for your online store, too. Squarespace Commerce available in 10 countries. The United States, the United Kingdom, it's not a dominion anymore. It's Canada, it's just called Canada, Australia, Belgium, France, Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands, and Spain. But you don't have to take anything I'm saying into your head. All you need to do is go to squarespace.com. You won't need to give them a credit card or anything. Start building your website. When you decide to sign up for Squarespace, make sure to use this offer code, though, TNT10. That's going to get you 10% off and show your support for Tech News Today. Squarespace has been a great supporter of the show. Thank you so much, Squarespace, for your support of Tech News Today. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional website. Well, let's welcome in our guest. Joining us to discuss the stories of the day, Ms. Nicole Lee of Engadget. Good to have you back on the show, Nicole. How you doing?
Good to be back.
Thank you so much for joining us. Also, Len Peralta, after a week off, is back on a Friday to illustrate the show. You got some. You got your drawing fingers on.
I do have my drawing figures on. Luckily, they just came in this morning and they fit perfectly. I got to ask though. I wasn't here last week. Did you miss me?
We definitely missed you. Ayaz didn't make an attempt to fill in for you this time.
I wasn't there. Actually, I was drawing in spirit last Friday. I wasn't even here, so
he was drinking spirits.
I don't even remember last Friday. Was I here?
Last Friday, I think you were here.
Okay, it was a good show.
Great show.
I don't remember.
It was the best episode we've ever done until this week.
You know, people at Google probably don't remember yesterday because they've been celebrating their $1,000 stock price. Let's start off with that one, Sarah. What's going on?
Yeah, so I mentioned in the news views overnight, it crept after hours trading close to 1,000. Then it broke that this morning for the first time in history. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, there's only a few businesses, Priceline is one of them, Seaboard, Berkshire Hathaway, that have also hit $1,000 per share. Up almost 10% overnight, which is kind of crazy because for something as big as Google, that's basically adding about $25 billion to its overall market cap. And that was based on a good third quarter earnings report, which beat Wall Street estimates for both earnings and revenue, although analysts won't say it was some sort of a crazy blowout. It was just pretty good, but it ended up working out quite well for Google. Some interesting stuff. CEO Larry Page said in the investor statement, "We're closing in on our goal of a beautiful, simple, and intuitive experience, regardless of your device." If you break that down into, okay, well, what does that mean? Look at YouTube. YouTube traffic now is about 40% via mobile, based on 25% last year. And if you go back to 2011, it was at just 6%. Two years ago, 6% of YouTube traffic was coming from mobile. Now it's at 40%. So obviously the company is taking that very seriously. By the way, mobile includes both phones and tablets. TechCrunch got a quote from Hunter Walk, who used to be a director of products over at YouTube, and he says, we were working on mobile back in 2007. I mean, before anybody was really taking it seriously. We transcoded all of our videos to be able to be served up on mobile formats. We did a deal with Apple to get a YouTube app pre-installed on the iPhone. We were taking this seriously a long time ago, and that points to why it's been so successful now and so easy for people to use it. Okay, well, we got Larry Page saying, well, we're going to have a beautiful, simple, streamlined, whatever. Okay, well, you can talk about the Google properties that already exist. It's pretty strong ad market. But what about driving cars and Google Glass and Google Fiber? Nicole, how do all those fit into what Google seems to be doing really right now?
Well, clearly their focus and their big moneymaker is mobile. I mean, that's without question. You mentioned that YouTube, they increased viewership from mobile products by 40%, I believe, compared to 25% last year. So I think all these things like the self-driving cars, the Google Glass initiative, their Project Loon thing where they're floating balloons of internet around the world. I think those are all just branding. I mean, it's not all just branding, obviously, but they're an innovations company as well as an ad company, and I think it's important for Google's public perception anyway to continue to be seen as an innovations company, which contributes to the self-driving cars and the glass and all of that, and I think that helps the image as well.
I got stuck on this idea of adding almost 10% overnight. That's $25 billion in market cap, you were saying, and the fact is that means with that increase, they could have bought T-Mobile, which is $19 billion, or they could have bought BlackBerry 5 times if they paid their market cap of $4.7 billion. So if in one night, the market capitalization of Google jumping up in that ridiculous amount is very impressive. I don't see their stock splitting anytime. It seems like they want to keep that kind of prestige when it comes to that.
The word on the street is that they are going to split their stock pretty soon because the founders want to be able to have non-voting shares doled out to others so that they can keep the control over the company.
It's not going with the Berkshire Hathaway model of being, I think, 136,000, whatever it is per share, which is absurd.
Very absurd.
So then that means the average schmo can buy a Google stock and they could see it go up in just like crazy. I'm amazed that they continue to do this. I remember back when Google stock was $86. I had a stock way back when. So
it's also interesting too that if you look at some of the numbers of the earnings report, it's the ad business is strong, but as it moves towards mobile, at least in the form that some of the Google properties like YouTube, for example, strong properties there are fewer options to target people via advertising. So, for example, go ahead, Nicole.
Well, I was going to say, but that's because with mobile, a lot of those ads are TrueView ads, which gives the user the option to turn it off after 15 seconds or whatever, and that doesn't because you can skip the ad. Most people do skip the ad, and I think that's kind of what the deal is with that.
I just want to mention that my wife works for Google, but she owns stuff. I don't own anything. It's all separated between us, but I always like to disclose that. The only thing I wanted to add is about those crazy projects like the self-driving cars. Those are long-term projects, and Google does those in spite of the fact that the stock market is short-term thinking. And so going, well, where's the payoff on that? Google says the payoff on that may not come for 20 or 30 years. We're doing these. I think Nicole's right, partly because it raises awareness and it's a publicity mechanism, but also because they're making long-term bets that these will pay off down the road. Even if other people are making the cars, some of Google's technology will be incorporated. Like Android, they can make money off people the more people use the internet, and that's why they give Android away for free. Let's move on to AT&T, and they're partnering up with the motor companies is interesting, especially with Tesla. Those are two big names getting together. But I want to talk about this $5 day pass for LTE data. Nicole, you wrote this up for Engadget. 250 megabytes for 1 day's worth of data, and they think this is going to compete with hotel Wi-Fi. I was excited, like, yes, $5 day pass, so much cheaper than the hotel Wi-Fi. I would do that in a heartbeat. Until it gets to and then you're going to limit me to 250 megabytes. That's useless.
Right. So I completely agree that it's very skimpy. So I think this may be targeted to the, like, for example, like when Penrose was on stage, he specifically referred to these day passes as a casual user rate. So I'm not really sure what that translates to, whether 250 megabytes is considered a casual user rate, but I don't know, because he basically said, hotel Wi-Fi, airport Wi-Fi, where you just pay a lot of typically hotel Wi-Fi and airport Wi-Fi is pretty expensive, right? But then you pay for how much data you can have. So it's a weird in-between stage that I agree with you that the data cap is ridiculous.
Yeah, when I saw the pricing options, that seems like it's that enticement. $5 for Wi-Fi, that's only 1 day. For a network, that's only 1 day. But the $25 for 1 gigabyte, to me, was more interesting because I've been looking for data plans that mimic the iPad, where I don't think those exist, where you can just simply pick up, pay $20 a month, and then drop off of this thing. Nicole, do you know if there's no penalty when you stop using this, right? Like, you have to pay like a termination fee.
No, but it's basically like every day you pay the pass, or every 3 months you pay the $25 for the 1 gigabyte. So it's a pay-as-you-go system essentially.
To be data only, this pricing just seems way lower than I was looking at Verizon phones the other day. There's really no data only option unless you go with an iPad. I'm just curious if this will catch on with other tablets. Will you be seeing a lot more 4G capable tablets that you can just put an AT&T SIM? You got LTE for $25 for 3 months. It's not too bad.
I mean, I do think hotel Wi-Fi is a little bit ambitious, but if I can kind of see it, if you're in the airport, you have 2 hours to kill, and you don't want to spend however much for airport Wi-Fi, but $5 doesn't seem like much. I can kind of see it for airport use.
A lot of airports are giving free Wi-Fi. The flip side of that is a lot of times when it's free Wi-Fi, it doesn't work. But on the other side, sometimes my connection to the cellular data doesn't work in the airport or in the hotel either. So you've got to actually deliver the service if you want this to work. And I see what you're saying, Ayaz, and he's after that. He's saying, like, the casual tablet user should always have LTE. We hope all tablets are just built with the radios in them in the future, and this is a way for them not to have to sign up for a plan. When you're comparing it to the plan, maybe it makes sense. That's probably what AT&T is doing. But if I already have a smartphone, that's my casual use. If I just want to check my email or use a little bit of data, I use the phone in my pocket. I'm not going to pay $5 for 250 megabytes. Give me $5 for, if you have to put a limit on it, make it a gigabyte in a day. Make it something worthwhile, something that I can actually say, that's worth paying for, rather than tethering my phone to my Wi-Fi tablet. He's saying people shouldn't be buying Wi-Fi only tablets. You got to make it worthwhile. A tablet can do a whole lot more than a phone.
Well, they are giving you, they say 3 months, but let's call it $25 for 1 gigabyte in a day.
Right.
I mean, that's,
exactly. There you go.
That's what I would do. I just blow through that really quickly. I mean, yeah, sure. If you need data here and there, I actually think this is a really great option. I have a data plan on my iPad, so I never think about this. But if you have a Wi-Fi only iPad, sometimes you just don't want to read on your phone if you've got your tablet right there. So I don't think this is the worst pricing ever. It would be nice if it was $10 for 1 gigabyte or something, but to pick and choose as you need it, and especially if you're traveling or just like find yourself at a cafe wasting time because your car is getting fixed or something. There are just things like that come up. It would be nice to just have it every once in a while, even if you don't feel like you need it usually.
Hey, John Laguerre, $5 for unlimited for a day. Make it happen. We'll all rush over to T-Mobile.
Yeah, great coverage and no speed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have
actually,
T-Mobile.
the speed, T-Mobile speed here in LA is fantastic.
It's inverted.
No one else is using the LTE.
I've gotten
here.
good speeds, and the coverage just is like it's one step above having no phone. Just one step.
Let's move on to the video game console report, which we haven't talked about this much because pretty much every month it's been the same thing: Wii failing, Xbox winning. But it changed this month.
Not this day. Today, Nintendo announced that the Wii U sales jumped over 200% last month. So they didn't actually explain how much they sold, but they said 200% better. The company credits the improvement in sales due to the price cut that happened and the introduction of a limited edition Legend of Zelda bundle. Nintendo said the sales boost only measured the first 15 days of the new price, but NPD, market research firm, said that sales were up over 100% on an average per-week basis from August 2013. And like Tom mentioned, and Sarah mentioned in the news views, Xbox 360 versus the PS3. For 32 months, the Xbox 360 was the top-selling game console in the U.S. PlayStation 3 finally has broken this streak. It is the top-selling console in the U.S. about a month out before the PS4 and One show up. NPD credits the release of the Grand Theft Auto 5 bundle for the boost in sales. Nicole, what's more exciting news in the gaming world? Nintendo actually having increased sales or Sony toppling Microsoft for the first time in over 2 years?
I mean, this is just my personal thinking. I think the Wii U thing is a little bit bigger news just because Wii U is supposed to be the next gen console, right? I mean, I know you don't really think of Wii U as a next gen console, but it's the next gen compared to the PS3 and the Xbox 360. It's all sort of getting ahead of the fall launch of the two new consoles, the One as well as the PS4. Like those two will be the interesting products. But I think pricing the Wii U, I think $200 less than the Xbox One and $100 less than the PS4. That makes it a very affordable option for sort of casual gamers or gamers who don't really care about GT4, I guess. I think it's a very interesting number. I don't think, however, it's sustainable. Like, I think this is basically because the price drop happened, and I'm not sure if it's going to continue. So we'll see.
I wonder if it's also because of the negative feelings towards the Xbox One that happened at E3. And so people who are maybe not following as closely, but hear like, oh yeah, Xbox sucks, Sony's good. And then they go and they buy a PS3, not really understanding that what people were talking about was the PS4 and the Xbox One. I wonder if there was a little halo effect there.
Or the excitement over the next-gen consoles and people are like, wait, they're not out yet? I've got money to burn. Here's the Wii U. It's something different. It could just be anticipation causing purchases of Wii U's because they had that price cut. Tom, did you remember that you had a Wii U when you saw the news story?
I did. Because I was looking past my laptop towards the Wii U collecting dust under the television, and it reminded me, oh yeah, that's what that thing is over there.
Yeah, I think Nicole's right. There's no way that Wii U sales is going to be sustainable like this. We're not going to see next month they're 400% up and then 600%.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Because if anything, they'll probably plateau. I still think the Wii U's got a whole branding issue because it's hard to explain that it's a different console. Sony finally toppling Xbox, that just shows that they had a good partnership, a good bundle to get people excited. Because when Microsoft started this whole this ridiculous reign, they've had so many special edition and then slim edition, then Halo edition.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
ends up driving some hardware sales there.
Driving, got it.
Got it. Didn't even do that on purpose. Just making puns.
Yes, you did.
Hey.
Remember? No, I'm just saying.
Telling you.
Take credit for that. That was good.
Yeah, all right.
We blame her. All right. Apple probably read your messages about that pun just now.
I'm sorry
Sarah.
about all of the terrible things I said, Apple. Please don't shut off my service. Actually, iMessage doesn't really work
that's
that
why you
well
don't
anyway.
get stuff. Anyway.
Security outfit Quarks Lab, as we mentioned in the news views, says Apple can intercept iMessage communications. They said that they couldn't. Apple said that they couldn't, but Quarks Lab says They can read your messages if they choose to, or if they are required to do so by a government order. I think that that's actually what's really interesting here, because Apple's kind of saying, well, we'd have to change the infrastructure and add some sort of a reverse blah, blah in order to read your messages. And we don't want to do that. But it's like, okay, but what if
reasons?
Because reasons. But what if you were forced to by the government? Is there actually a viable way to do so? Quarks Lab says, here's how it works. Apple controls the keys used to encrypt iMessages between me as a sender, I as a recipient. Theoretically, could conduct a so-called man-in-the-middle attack on the two, making the sender and the recipient believe that they're chatting securely just with each other, but they're not, and somebody could be reviewing their communication. Quarks Lab says, we're not saying that Apple is reviewing your messages. We are saying Apple could read your messages if they choose to, or again, if the government requires them to do so. So how much do we care that Apple says we're not interested in doing this, and we haven't set it up in the way that would allow us to review your communications in the wake of stuff like NSA surveillance that has a lot of people freaked out? What do you think, Nicole?
Well, of course, it's in their interest to say they're not going to read my message and then they're not interested in. I mean, it does. There is some concern, obviously, that a company can intercept your messages, but I think I was under the impression that they already had this ability. For some reason, I already assumed that, of course, there was some capability of intercepting messages. Maybe it was because I'm just so jaded by all the NSA news. I'm just like, of course they have an ability to do it. But I am concerned. At the same time, I'm not entirely surprised.
I think maybe I would feel better about it if Apple said, not only can we not at this time read your messages even if we want to, and not only are we not interested in ever doing this, but if for any reason the government asks us to do so, we will make the entire thing public. I mean, they're not going as far as to say that. And we've had so many problems in the past with companies after the fact saying, oh yeah, by the way, we had like 400 requests from the government in the last month alone. So it would be nice to just feel like there was a little bit more transparency.
But what Quarks Lab is pointing out here, by the way, is that Apple is not operating their public key server in a way where we could tell if someone were spying on the messages. They're not, as Sarah said, they're not accusing them of doing it, but they're saying they could do this and we wouldn't know. And Apple's saying, well, no, we built the system so we couldn't do it. Well, we have no way of knowing that. All we have is your word for it. And what they could do is operate their public key server publicly the way MIT does. MIT has a public key server that's public. It's still secure, but you can tell if someone swapped a public key. You can't actually use it to decrypt or anything like that. It's a public key. That's what it's about. Apple hides that public key server in a way that they could swap that public key and we would never know. Now, you're going to have to go watch Security Now with Steve Gibson or listen to it if you really want to understand more about how this works. I'm sure Steve will get into it. But the key point here is Apple's not operating in a way that makes it easy for us to tell they're not doing what they say they're not doing. And why not? Just operate your encryption that way. Again, this is a negative side of that. Apple saying, just trust us, we know what's best for you.
Yeah, but arguably, because the iMessage system is so flawed and they've had server issues, they've had issues just getting messages to each other and all kinds of there's certain outages there. They might just be like under fire saying, we're just trying to get the system to work. Now you want it to be actually secure? That's a whole other issue.
No. It is secure. We're saying they don't operate it in a way that lets us tell that it's secure, right?
Well, so they got a lot of work to do at iMessage in general. So that would be another phase in there. The thing it's like when what was it, RIM at the time? They claimed that they could not read messages between BlackBerry messaging users, caused them a lot of flack in India because India wanted to be able to have surveillance on there. There could be, for all we know, there could be government pressure on Apple to not be doing these things, but we won't ever know that until some other whistleblower shows up.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about China. Speaking of security issues, Wall Street Journal reporting Lenovo signing that NDA with BlackBerry, which makes sense. Lenovo's even said they were curious about BlackBerry and that they might want to buy part of them. The best bet is that they wouldn't buy all of BlackBerry, but probably just the handset part. Part of the reason that they wouldn't want to buy the security part is not that they couldn't make good use of it, but the Investment Canada Act lets the government veto any acquisitions that don't bring a net benefit to the country or that threaten national security. And of course, Lenovo, headquartered in Beijing, Canada, would likely just call that would threaten national security and veto it. In fact, Canada did block an Egyptian entrepreneur's acquisition of Allstream fiber optic network on security concerns earlier this year. Reuters says BlackBerry is also in talks with Cisco, with Google, with SAP, and others. We've heard about Mike Lazaridis, the former co-CEO of RIM, being interested in getting back into the game as well. Earlier this week, and we mentioned this briefly, BlackBerry sent an open letter to its customers saying that they are going to continue to do the following 4 things. I think these 4 things look a little like a shopping list if you pay attention. They say handsets, security systems, enterprise management, and they call it social network, but Messenger. So, Nicole Lee, of those 4 things, which would you like to purchase?
Such compelling options. I would say probably Messenger out of those 4. Just because Messenger is people do use Messenger like all over the world. People do use BBM a lot. So.
Well, in all seriousness, now if Lenovo does pick up the handset business, maybe let's just say that they do. How would we divide up the rest of these 4? You mean
who gets what?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's okay. So who's gonna get the security system then?
That could go to SAP or Cisco, either one, and the other one gets enterprise management.
Yeah, I think Lazaridis would get enterprise management.
I think Lazaridis gets the handsets because he's probably still.
That's true.
He's of the idea that the handsets are going to work. So I would think he's the only person.
Lenovo's going to have some competition there.
Lenovo. That's such a bad hand, though.
Yeah, I understand that, but Lazaridis was a bad hand at actually guiding the company. So the thing is,
he's like, I'm still going to win.
Yeah, head down. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have handsets, and QNX is the way to go. But it was the other CEO. What's the other guy's name? Jim Balsillie. He was the one who wanted to make BlackBerry about the security system, enterprise management, have their services as a separate thing, which implies that Lazaridis was the guy who was all handsets. So the other part of the company, let Lazaridis take the handsets.
He just likes a good physical keyboard.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
one. Just got to get the right spin on it, and then we'll all understand.
Yeah, they really messed up with that keyboard.
But
go ahead.
Well, no, that's all right. BlackBerry Messenger is the one Nicole said she'd be most interested in, but we haven't mentioned anybody being a kind of an obvious choice to buy that. Maybe Google, I guess.
What about Twitter? They're talking about spinning off their DM thing into a separate product.
Ooh, now that's interesting.
Messenger on the internet.
They have no money.
Boom.
Right? So they're going to IPO. So if they IPO, make some money, they can go buy BBM and that security stuff. They could say, look, our DM service or whatever our messaging service is the most secure, and we can't even read what's going on.
Yeah, and Twitter has a pretty good track record, at least with trying to be pretty transparent and protect their users' privacies.
I think you figured it out. So if Twitter was not paying attention, that's the winner.
Twitter, buy BBM. It's gonna be
Twitter's
awesome.
not involved in any of these rumors, but we've decided now that they should be. So
Facebook could get it because Twitter's
get on that, Costello.
Get on.
All right, let's finish up with Nokia getting into the watch game. Everybody wants to have something wearable.
Yeah, a story popped up about a Nokia patent about a watch that had these modular screens that would snap into a wristband, and then each screen would have specific data. Then Kent Lyons, one of the guys behind the actual device, directed Engadget to a concept video of such a device, and they called it the Facet. In the video, you see a bracelet that houses 6 screens. Each of the screens is about the size of that old iPod, that wearable iPod Nano you could wear. And each of the screens has its own application. You can actually expand apps to another module. There were 6 total in this wristband thing. There was a bunch of gestures you could use to swap applications from one module to another. It doesn't look like you'd have to even have all 6 if you didn't want to. You could expand, collapse, swap. You could do whatever you want with these apps in this device. Now, it's very much a bulky prototype. It's incredibly bulky, but it actually is working. It's working. It's a concept device. So my question, Nicole, is this might be a bulky concept device, but do you think that a modular concept for a watch might be the way to go?
A modular concept in the sense that you would be able to use these little like that exactly, like the various different screens together.
Wear it as a tie.
Wear it as a tie.
I was thinking bandolier, but go ahead. As a bandolier or as a necklace. Very limited use. I do not see the mainstream embracing this. I just don't.
No way.
people don't watch this as it is. Like, I don't think this would be a very popular concept. Personally, I don't know.
I thought
it is a prototype,
Yes.
so it's obviously this is not the design. But I still don't understand. I guess if I had like 2 screens and they were thin and it was stylish, maybe I can see it. I'm trying.
Or one large wrap around your wrist screen.
Come on.
Then maybe.
Okay.
Look at that.
It was thin.
It's
This
a
is
big
like-
chunky bracelet.
It's like a Rubik's Cube of
Yeah,
watches.
no, the prototype is ugly.
It's just it's atrocious.
You got to think beyond the prototype, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Imagine
way
the
beyond the
possibilities.
prototype. Do you remember the original Google Glass, the prototype ones that looked like these giant? It was basically a cell phone attached to somebody's glasses. So if
Well,
this is possible,
I don't think the real thing is a whole lot better.
it's cleaner anyway. It could be thinner. So if maybe not 6 screens because this uses 6 screens, or at least sometimes it says 8. So depending on the one we're looking at.
Even if it's thinner, I don't think people will want multiple screens hanging off their wrist. I just don't see the use case for this.
No, flexible display that wraps around your wrist, one single display,
You want a snap
small
bracelet.
form
Oh,
factor.
yeah.
Then I'm in. This is just ridiculous.
One single piece of glass that has multiple like display areas might work, Jason. I think you're onto something there.
I don't know.
You don't like
I mean,
modular.
This isn't like some big 27-inch monitor where you can have a few different windows open at a time. I mean, this is a very small surface area.
Right, but you can expand one app to be on all
Well, for
6 or
you.
8 screens.
It is.
Wait,
It's
what are you
big.
saying? You have huge wrists, Tom, and you need like 4 different screens on
I
your
don't have
wrist?
bird-like wrists. I'm just saying that. You
Got
know,
medium-sized
probably fit-
wrists.
I can
Tom
probably
has
fit
big
2.
wrists. Okay.
That's start the rumor for the
He wanted
Wikipedia.
everybody to know.
I think the modular idea is different, at least. You know, we've seen the idea of like, oh, it's just a watch. What else can it do? It's like, well, can do a lot more. And the other thing for me, I'm figuring if one of the modules dies, I can swap it out, or I can have them do just different functions, because if it has specialized hardware in each module, and this is a guess, I don't know if they have this. If one module can do GPS and one does fitness tracking and one does another thing, I can swap them out as they change. So I just think it has a longer life. Although, yes, the prototype is really big and chunky, but what prototype isn't?
The person that's going to buy that modular phone, where am I? Oh, I'm nowhere.
Oh,
to be
that's
seen
the
here.
randomizer.
The person that's going to buy that modular phone that we talked about a couple of weeks ago is also going to be wearing this on the wrist. Modular man.
Modular man. There you go.
Real
Roger,
quickly, before
man.
we get to the randomizer, I wanted to follow up on yesterday's disaster with my Surface RT. It's all been fixed now. Oh, let me prove it to you by logging in. It logged me out. But yes, I was able to, thanks to a user on Twitter, find an easy ISO of Windows 8. And then once I restored it, I was able to, and I went and ran to the store and bought a USB stick. I was able to update successfully this morning. So your mileage may vary. My Surface RT worked just fine. And YYZ in the chat room pointed out T-Mobile does offer $3 day passes for unlimited data, but it's limited to 4G, 200 megabytes, and then it drops you down to a lower speed. So they're kind of almost there. Let's see what's in the randomizer. Our randomizer today was 68% in favor of Elon Musk to make James Bond submarine car a reality. He bought one of the prop cars that was used in The Spy Who Loved Me by Roger Moore to film the part where James Bond drives the submarine car into the lake. And he plans to actually put a drivetrain in from Tesla, upgrade it, and make it a real submarine car.
This man has a lot of money, and a lot of time, and a lot of resources,
and a lot of
great ideas.
This is just.
If you had the money, wouldn't you buy a James Bond car?
Exactly.
I would.
Well, instead of just
Totally.
like replicating it and building a car that could be a sub, he wants to turn this prop into the
Because
sub.
he's a
That's
James
just
Bond fan, most likely.
right. It's just this extra step of
That's a lot
Tony
cooler,
Starkness, you know?
right? Yeah, it's very Tony Stark. Yeah, it's a Lotus. It's an actual Lotus sports
Forget
car
private
frame.
jets. Let's just drive underwater to Europe.
I'm driving to Tokyo.
Yeah.
Sounds
we're
like a
not
great
thinking
idea.
big enough
No,
here.
I'm not. You're definitely right. And as a super spy, I should be thinking.
What could
that
go
way.
wrong?
Really should.
Nothing.
Exactly. One point just to note is that this car, when they filmed in it, didn't keep the water out. It was able to go underwater, but you had to have scuba gear on if you were going to drive it.
Oh, so it's like any old car.
Except the only difference is the
Not
engine.
really a submarine.
Well,
It's
cars
just-
sink too,
just
right?
An underwater car.
You just put it in the water, it'll just fall in.
I guess
so-
every car is a submarine until
It's
like
submersible.
just ends up on the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
Right. All right. Let's take a look at what's on the calendar, Sarah.
Hey, we got a birthday today to celebrate. It's Nintendo NES's birthday.
Happy
Happy
non-infringing song to you.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Nintendo, so I thought it would be appropriate to say Nintendo Entertainment System, it's your birthday. The Y Combinator Startup School is happening tomorrow. That's the 19th, startupschool.org for more information on that. Netflix has their earnings report on Monday, the 21st. And looking ahead to about a week from Monday, Aereo is scheduled to hit Detroit on October 28th.
Will the Tigers be in the World Series at the same time? Only time will tell. Let's see about some emails.
Sure. We got a message from Will in northern Wisconsin. He says, "Hey, AT&T crew, thanks for all the information gathering you do. On the subject of the new email-based Square payment service you discussed in episode 862, what are they doing about the possibility to spoof email headers? I have to say I haven't looked at any of the technical aspects of the service or of email spoofing in a while. Wouldn't it be possible to send a payment email with the sender field filled with someone's address whom you know has the email payment set up? Just something to think about, and I may be wrong."
So I looked this up, and because I was worried about this too, and obviously Square is not going to allow you to spoof headers. They'd be out of business in a heartbeat if they did. But they don't tell you a lot about what they're doing. Here's from their website. Square verifies each Square Cash email to authenticate that it comes from a legitimate sender. For added security, we send you a text confirmation each time you send cash if you have linked your mobile phone number. So let's definitely sign up for that text message thing. That way you know if something went wrong. You'll get a text and you'll like, hey, a minute, I didn't send cash. And there are plenty of ways to make sure that an email is coming from the place you expect it to. You can do server identification and make sure that it's always coming from the same server, which makes me think that it might not work in my Gmail. I use Gmail to manage multiple accounts, right? And I spoof myself when I send from that account. So hopefully that wouldn't work, but that could be a problem for some people because a lot of people do the same thing. But thanks for the email, Will. Appreciate it. All righty. Well, thank you, Nicole Lee, for joining us. It was great having you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Engadget.com, the place to find Nicole's good work. Anything in particular you want to let folks know about?
Yes. This week I wrote a very long piece about Cast AR, which is Jerry Ellsworth augmented reality piece. Definitely check that out. I also wrote a very lengthy hands-on about the Anki Drive, which is that cool little robotics iOS platform. So definitely check those stories out.
Excellent. Yeah, I saw that. That was good work. And I've been wondering where those things had gotten off to since we saw them demoed. So good stuff. Check that out, engadget.com. Also, thanks to Len Peralta for illustrating our episode today. Len, show us your art.
Absolutely. I cannot see what I'm doing here only because I'm not getting the feed. But that's okay because I drew some pretty interesting things. For the first story, Google Daddy, right? They're making all this money, right? Hand over fist.
Daddy Google bucks.
This is Google Daddy here, and he's counting the fast stacks. That's once again working on Breaking Bad.
That is what Larry Page looks like.
The Wi-Fi pass. Here's a sad dude. I thought I bought a Disney day pass. This sucks.
A Disney day pass for $5. Pretty good.
I like the Wi-Fi logo there on the mouse, by the way. That's good.
Yeah. Thank you. I tried to make sure I wasn't sued. Mario won last quarter. That's awesome. We won, but he not without taking a beating, man.
He's not looking too good.
He got beat up pretty bad. And what I forgot to draw is some blood on his nose, but that'll be for a later iteration. Apple looking at your iMessages. This guy who works for Apple is actually looking at Ayaz's messages.
What is he
You can only wonder what is on Ayaz's.
Yeah, my iMessages. Yeah, that's an appropriate response.
A couple months ago, I drew Lenovo as a kaiju. You can actually go to my online store and see that. And so for the story about Lenovo and BlackBerry, I just drew because Pacific Rim came out this week on Blu-ray.
Right.
I drew Lenovo as a kaiju wanting Blackberries. So there you go. That's
Is that how a
strange.
kaiju talks? Lenovo want Blackberries.
He talks, he talks like Blanca from Street Fighter. Exactly. And the huge chunky tech. I wasn't able to see the video, but from hearing what you were saying about it, it sounded like it was pretty bulky. So this is the failed inventions by Nokia, the Nokia Tech Backpack, which I think may be in the works and coming very, very soon.
Yeah, except it should wrap all the way around eventually, once they've
It should be back and front like a sandwich sign.
Right.
That's what it should be. And then finally for the randomizer, we talked earlier in the show or before show about just doing something random. And so I drew a cone head. A cone head riding a sub. You can't see the sub, but that's why it's random. There you go. So there you go.
It was really random, I have to say.
Did they dress like clowns? I don't remember that.
Did they? I don't remember. No, they didn't. They had those things in the back.
Random.
I actually drew. I actually dressed as a conehead years ago for Halloween, and I have Halloween on the mind. So there you go. Anyway, if you go to the chat room, I have a straw poll up. Which one of these would you like to see in my online store? So you can go and vote on that right now.
All right. Thank you, Len. Check it out, peraltartsy.myshopify.com, and, of course, lenperalta.com to follow Len. Thank you, man. Those are always fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks to folks who voted in our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, to help us get a handle on the news of the day. Also, don't forget about best of submissions at twit.tv/bestof. If you found a particular part of the show or any show on Twit that you think should be preserved for our best of show at the end of the year, go to twit.tv/bestof. Tell us as much as you can remember, time codes if you got them, and we'll be able to put that in the show at the end of the year. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. Email us, tnt@twit.tv, and give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT show. It's back-to-back illustrators, because when we come back on Monday, we've got Scott Johnson as our guest. We'll see you then.